Hello, everybody. Welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I'll also publish on normal and on Patreon for extra support. Any kind of updates and such, I usually go about on Twitter X. Yesterday, we did manage to start off a new gameplay series, Firewatch. It's an indie game from Campo Santo, if not mistaken. I already managed to record the gaming series for this game. I think it's around 7 or 8 episodes. Again, it's a relatively short narrative experience, very interesting, and yeah, I think it dwells in some themes here and there that seem very interesting, and I think it's a good experience. Usually, when it's on sale, I usually m- try to make it highlight there on my deal section of the program. But yeah, I will try to publish this Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And again, the other game that I already completed, Callisto Protocol, is already here on the portion of 4K completed gameplay series. Other than that, let's go to the news. Yeah, it seems that this GeForce 5000 series launch is a shit show. Um, I watched J2 video about this. It seems, given that there is no Founders Edition for the 5070 Ti, and given that the MSRP supposedly for this card is around $750, I think, given that ASUS did manage on this specific model, the Prime, whatever it is, I think it's the Prime non-RC model, supposedly should be around $750. But we're already seeing some listings here. Again, I think the review embargo will lift in a couple of days or so. And the prices are already inflated to $900 on this specific model, which is not good given that reviewers usually, I will assume, around at least 1 week, probably 2 weeks before the embargo leaves, receive these GPUs so they can have proper time on testing and do all the testing they usually need to do to make a more comprehensive review. And usually, I assume they have the prices in hand of what the GPU itself are going to cost. Usually, you have MSRPs, and they usually, when they give their opinions regarding price to performance regarding the already existing GPUs on the market, they usually give their opinion regarding the MSRP or the specific price of the model that of the GPU that they are reviewing. And in this case, J2 Sense made a video to a certain degree. He violated some embargoes, given that he said that he has this specific model. Um, and even though he didn't show, he only showed the case again. But we already have the cases, images already here and there. So again, it's going to be a little bit the issue for him for sure with Nvidia or with the SUS. I don't know, but it goes to the point that again, the fact that we are not seeing enough stock. We have basically paper launch from the 5090s and 5080s. The prices all over the place. We already know with the 5090 reaching $4,000 in some models, with the 5080 $2,000 for what's supposed to be, I don't know, $1,200, something like that. They are inflated because again, demand and offer. Um, Again, when you don't have stock and people want the GPUs, again, the prices will always inflate. And of course, AIB partners, whatever being ASUS, MSIs, and Gigabytes, and all those manufacturers, they will take a chance and making extra profits out of this situation. Yeah, it's not good seeing this kind of things, these shenanigans happening. Again, Nvidia this generation, I don't think it's worth the even if they launched at the same kind of MSRP from the previous generation. Not even the 5090, even if it launched at $1,500, I don't think it's worth the uplift in terms of performance. Um, Again, if you have a 4090, I think you should stick with the 4090 by itself. Plus all the fact that we have the burning cables. Again, I need to check better that situation because it seems that there is NVIDIA fault and the consortium that did the design of this kind of GPUs, and the fact that there is no extra features of safety regarding the power control between each cable. Already covered a little bit the Bauer video that he did with his findings, that there is no controller in terms of balancing the power between all the cables on this connection, but that's another conversation. But the fact that this 5070 Ti, I think is going to be a shit launch again. Again, it's unconceivable. I think until we have a better option, or at least we have better information or official information from the AMD side of things here, at around this kind of 70-ish class card performance, we will have to have better information regarding what the aiming MSRP is going to be for the 9070 XT cards. So we have a better sense of what this new generation might bring in terms of uplift in price to performance regarding previous generation. Since, I don't know, a couple of months, when we start seeing more details about all these GPUs from rumors and leaks, I was reassured, and that I did a good decision of not, for example, trying to save money to buy a new GPU. Again, there is no real uplift in terms of price to performance from this generation so far. Hopefully, the AMD RDNA GPUs will be very aggressive on the price and maintain, with a lot of stock, maintain a very competitive price on this kind of class card, equivalent to the 70 class cards, at a reasonable price. Because again, if people that are at least two generations behind in terms of what they have of GPUs might have a good deal if everything lines up, at least from AMD. Hopefully, their FSR4 technology is basically on par with DLSS from NVIDIA, and hopefully those prices are kept in check, and they are very aggressive in terms of how they can compete with the 70 Ti, or even with the non-Ti version of the 70 class cards from NVIDIA. Because again, this is not good. The shenanigans happening here by the fact that supposedly this card should be at MSRP. There is no foundry edition, so there is no kind of NVIDIA cannot keep in check certain models from ARBs to be on the same price, because again, founders edition at MSRP usually keeps certain models on that or at least around that MSRP if there is enough stock, because again, it's a matter of being competitive on the market itself. But yeah, I don't like this. Again, it's more than 25% of uplift in terms of just price by itself. Um, I covered this way before the CES. The 5070 Ti, at least on the paper specs, should be the most interesting one, and now it's not. Might as well buy at this price point, $900. Might as well buy the same GPU that I have. You might find a 7900 XTX at this price point. For sure, performs way better in terms of rasterization. Has 24 gigabytes of VRAM. The software is pretty good from AMD. I don't have any kind of complaints there. Because on the NVIDIA side of things, they stopped manufacturing 4090s and 4080 supers and 4080s non-supers. It's going to be very tricky to find something from previous generation at this point in time, because they want to highlight the new generation with higher prices for sure. AMD, I'm not sure in terms of the high end of the RDNA 3, so the XTX and the XT, but at this price point, you can find, I think, 7900, even a XT, which has 20 gigabytes, performs very well also, deals pretty good performance in terms of even 4K gameplay, in terms of raster. Again, it's preferable not go for the mofo of losing out on this new generation and just keep with some good deal that, again, a good deal in terms of price and still performs very well in the foreseeable future. because even from previous generations from Nvidia, the cards will get very old very fast, mainly because of how demanding the new games are coming out, especially on the VRAM side of things, because VRAM does affect a lot, especially from NVIDIA side of things in terms of their software features, the DLSS and the fake frames and all those things. When you start turning on those features, it starts piling up on the VRAM because they use a little bit more extra VRAM when you start turning on those all of those features. And again, we all know that on the lower end of things, NVIDIA GPUs don't have enough VRAM for that. But yeah, I think this is going to be a shit show. Um, let's see how J2 really does review this card. And also regarding hardware unbox, I will keep my eyes on them. And also Gamers Nexus, they also do pretty good. And I think they will be referencing this situation here on the MSRP situation of these certain GPUs that supposedly are supposed to be around $750. But yeah, in terms of hardware, this is what I got here. We got a little bit news here on Okami 2, the sequel of the Okami game. We kind of got the confirmation again. It was expected, given that it's being developed in Capcom, that is going to use the To the Moon engine, so the RE engine. Again, a little bit of marketing here that they had to use the engine, or they decided to use the engine because it's the only engine that could realize the vision of Hideki Kamiya's, which is the creative director of the first game. So he's going to also be developing and help create the vision of what Okami is. So, and I think Amaterasu, which is the little wolf here, the Amaterasu means kind of the sun deity, I think, if not mistaken. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Again, this engine, I think, is pretty good to the Moon engine. I think it has some issues still. Um, Open world games got that experience on Dragon's Dogma 2, very CPU heavy game, and to a certain extent also in Monster Hunter Wilds. Again, I already also mentioned this. I think the engine, when it was built from the ground up, was more in line to serve games like Resident Evil, which has smaller areas and usually uses like a more corridor style, more linear kind of a path when you play the game. And again, they are. I will assume that they are in the background on the engineering side of things. They are resolving these issues of CPU overhead and utilization on the open world games. But that is one of those things that will need time to see how that engine will evolve. But overall, the game engine, when you play Resident Evil games, is pretty smooth. Usually it's not that demanding, and I think even the demanding side of things regarding, for example, Dragon's Dogma 2 and even Monster Hunter Wilds is the CPU stuff there, because I think the game engine was not built properly to optimize the CPU usage. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. And the fact that this is a very unique art style. I'll still one of these days try Okami HD. It's on Steam. When it's on sale, I usually give a shout out to that because it's always one of those games that you know that exists and you're always kind of interested in playing the game. But for me, I never played it because, again, when it came out, I was not playing consoles anymore, basically. But yeah, now it's on Steam. I will eventually try this game one of these days for sure. Then we got also some stuff here from I didn't cover it at the time from Elden Ring Nightreign. Again, we got the closed network test. Again, people have some complaints again on terms of the performance of the network, but that's what this network test was all about, was to test the network stuff and matchmaking and all that jazz, to for then the full release of the game could be as smooth as possible. But yeah, one interesting thing and a little bit can be a little bit worrying. But then again, all depends of kind of the wording that they used here for the DLC. Again, assumed always that even though this is a single player game, it's not a game as a service kind of a game that they're going for. At least that's a perception that they gave us. Um, it seems that I always assume, sorry, that the DLC that will always have some DLC around this. I don't know, extra levels or extra character or something like that. I think it was something always in the back burner in case they had a pretty good launch that can justify. I don't know, extend the game itself for the players. But the problem is the fact that there was something on the Steam page which was discussing DLC with extra playable characters and bosses, which again, being correct, again, it was removed. Again, we don't know if it was poor choice of wording there. My main concern is about the bosses stuff there. Again, as given that the game itself is marketed as kind of a full experience, supposedly. If you're gatekeeping players through DLC on accessing extra stuff, again, playable characters, again, it's one of those things because the game already comes with 8 classes. Again, I will be a little bit more worried if it's something that um, that might be, for example, adding extra classes that you cannot access. Again, I will assume the characters might be same kind of class, but with different skins and I don't know, with different mm, abilities or weapons or something like that, but in the same class that you can try it out. But the boss stuff is the most worrying because the gist of this game is go for the final boss, and if they gatekeep through DLC access to this extra boss, which is the game is all about, is defeating the bosses. I don't think that will go very well, but hopefully you get some clarification regarding what they are planning around DLC, if any. I will assume they are planning, but yeah, I think a little bit more clarification so we can be more rested that this is not going to be trying to get keep players from content through DLC to I don't know justify the fact that the game is not a game as a service kind of a thing, because all the skins and all the extra little things can be unlocked just by playing. So it's one of those things that I really like in that sense. But yeah, hopefully we get a little bit more qualification of, I don't know, a roadmap or something like that of things that they are planning to do with this game. Then we got also suppose Kingdom Come already sold 2 million copies again for for what it is, with all the I don't know, the situation around the from the gay character scenes that suppose is not in lore with the setup of the main character, that supposedly was a straight married guy. um but yeah, given that again, the problem is when you try to cater and trying to market your game as kind of historically accurate, that doesn't mean that there wasn't any gay people in the Middle Ages where this game is supposed to be happening. It's just the fact that you set up a character in a certain way. And even though it's an RPG, you play as it is, but you have already the constraints of setting up a character in a certain way, and then you open up the character to, I don't know. I don't have in principle any issues with that. You play it as you want, but the fact that you're already altering certain lore stuff that is already set up from the first game, I don't think it's the best way to go about it. And then also the fact that the reaction and responses to people questioning these things, these kind of decisions, the way that it's been handled, it's not the best way. Then you got also the community management of this game that also is again, it's they don't know how to respond properly. I think there are ways to clarify and having and say things or clarify things for customers that should be handled better. But other than that, it seems as an RPG, the game is pretty good. Even though it has some issues in terms of performance here and there, but I think overall it's a very decent experience, and I think that comes with the fact that it already sold 2 million copies. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this will go. I just hope that they did pre-launch clarify a lot of stuff in terms of what they're trying to achieve. And again, when you enter in the field that you're trying to be as historic as possible, and then you kind of alter the lore of a certain character, especially the main character as it was, and you then change it in a certain way, plus other historical figures that some things doesn't seems a little bit forced in terms of how things happen history wise, and the documents that again you can't confirm what happened around that time. Again, I think might as well say basically loosed on this time period in this kind of area, and we take some I don't know, creative liberties on this thing. I think it might as well go like that before, because if you constrain yourself in certain areas on how to go about a game, and then all of a sudden you break some of your own rules per se, I don't think it fits that well. But yeah, this game usually it's not for me. This kind of simulation kind of a game, even though it's an RPG, I think it's more about the combat there. But even in this second one, the combat seems to be more simplified and more streamlined, and to a certain degree more monotonous, from what I understand, or less technical. But yeah, it's sold well so far, 2 million. Let's see if it goes better, and maybe the developer can take some lessons out of it. But I think this is like the last game, at least following this character. I don't know what kind of game they're going to try, and or any kind of game that they're going for from this Warhorse Studios. Let's see how that goes. And then lastly, just a quick follow up here on the state of play, which is a trend that we everybody was noticing. I don't know, from a couple of years to now, which is the slow but surely domination of Eastern studios in terms of sales and how they launch content of quality. On the state of play, we got announcements of stuff like Tides of Annihilation, which is a Chinese studio, Onimusha Way of the Sword from Capcom, and Shinobi Art of Vengeance, which I think is also from Capcom. No, Sega, sorry. There it is, Sega. And then Lost Soul Aside, which is a game from a developer from the China Hero project from PlayStation, which is very interesting. They try to pick certain independent and small studios and see what kind of projects they are trying to work on, or what kind of a pitch they have, and then fund those games there. But yeah, all these four games, they seem pretty good. And yeah, again, they are taking chances on single player games, from again taking the pillars of innovation, creativity, and generate excitement for the player, because they are stuff that are different from we are being seeing from the Western studios, the so-called Western studios that had a huge high pedigree until a few years ago of creating great games. And one of those examples is Split Fiction, which is like the two friends that, again, it seems a little bit weird, that game. And then you got the Directive 820. I just skip through that because when I start seeing what it was, it did seem like very, again, seems like bland generic stuff with a checklist. Even the presentation, it seems like a checklist of stuff that they're just checking, and that's it. And one of the things that caught my interest of the Tides of Annihilation is the fact that it is a Chinese studio that is inspired by Arthurian legends, which is kind of the folklore that some people try to as a background on England, which is very interesting. And the take they are having with the inspiration of these huge enemies, remembering as Shadow of Colossus, it throw me back of the like the huge enemies that you're going for, and I suppose battle. I think we had on the trailer, or in the extended gameplay trailer, I think we had like you mount a dragon and you fight these giant colossuses, which is very interesting. The way they are setting up this game. But yeah, it's interesting that it is these more Eastern studios, in some cases very small ones, at least comparatively with the already established Western studios. We got, for example, we got Black Myth Wukong, even though it's not a small studio, but at the scale of how they do things is a smaller studio. And out of nowhere, they come up with Black Myth Wukong, sell 30 million copies now, I think. Yeah, it is good to see. Again, as a customer, I just want good games from whatever it comes. Um, some people might question the again, question the how the funding goes and the overall scheme of things of how especially DEI practices and all the acronym mafia stuff there that is being injected on the Western studios. Again, to a certain degree, it's the fault of the people that make decisions on those studios, because I think when you are commanding a studio, you need to think long term. And if you're trying to have a short-term game in detriment of the long-term longevity of the pedigree of people that work with you and the projects that you make, um, again, it's up to them, and then they will have the consequences of launching slop and not selling games, and eventually, probably like Ubisoft, maybe close down one of these days. But yeah, I will wrap up this episode here with some gaming deals. We got now back in Arkham Collection. Again, a very good trilogy of games. I played the first two. I really did enjoy. Then we got also Batman Arkham Knight, which I think it's way more improved from the launch. Again, 85% off, around €9, $9, give or take. I think this is a good trilogy for you if you like Batman games. Then we got Pacific Drive, is still on sale, 40% on the base game. We got Spiritfarer Farewell edition. It's 85% off. I did manage to already play this demo, and already did. It's on the playlist of demo gameplays. I had a quick look on this game, and I really did enjoy the demo. It's at least give us an idea what kind of game systems and what kind of interactions we're going to have throughout the game. At least gives us an idea. And yeah, I really do recommend from what I played. And again, if you want to try out, you can try out the demo there. We got also Deus Ex still, Human Revolution Director's Cut, 85% off, and also the sequel, Mankind Divided. I really do recommend Digital Deluxe Edition, got all the playable DLC and those little packs there. Yeah, very cheap, 85% off, and I think it's worth the price of admission. We got also Dome Keeper. It's now on sale, 50% off. I really do enjoy this game. I played a little bit here and there. When I have time, sometimes I do a run here and there. But yeah, you got a demo here if you want to try it out for yourself. If you like this kind of roguelike kind of a game with tower defense mixed in and some mining, I think this is a good option for you. Then you got Jusant, 50% off. I'm at this moment trying to record some episodes for this game. I'm really enjoying the exploration of this game. Very interesting mechanics on the climbing, art style very unique, and it's one of those games that tells the story through exploration and specifically through the communications left for the people that abandoned the place there. It's very, very interesting. And then finally, we got XCOM is still on sale. This is the ultimate collection that I'm presenting here. So everything XCOM related, especially Enemy Unknown, Enemy Within, which is like a huge DLC for the Enemy Unknown. Then we got XCOM 2 plus all the DLC associated with it, and XCOM Chimera Squad. Everything is on sale. I think around $15 or so. You might be able to buy everything here. And of course, the replayability of these games with the mods that already are around these games, I think it gives extra longevity and value to the game, and of course the support that you already have on the mod community here. But yeah, for today this is it. I'm just going to wrap up with a plug on my Patreon for extra support. This extra support is more in line for me to try and get around a better storage solution so I can have backups of stuff that I do for my clients, and of course some extra space for the videos that I do for the channel. And with all that said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. So until then, Kunamy Master out.